extremely weird oddity that King could just like extend his reach. But if you get really good angle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's up guys, and welcome to Tekken 8 Oddities, where today we'll be talking about King. And if you guys don't know, King has a lot of weird, odd design decisions when it comes to the way he acts, the way he functions. Now, I'm not really used to this to talk about the character's strength or weaknesses. I'll be using this to showcase some oddities with the character and some weird designs from a gameplay perspective. Let's get right into it, and we'll get ahead with the first main one that I discovered quite a wee bit. Here's the odd thing. Down back 1+2 allows King to tank up, but it also gives him a weird property, which is he can reach further, right? And proof of this, look, this is what happens without the stance, whiffs. Doing the stance and then not following up, and following up without the stance, he whiffs, right? You keep it in stance, he reaches. And I believe it because of two reasons. One is that he steps forward during the stance. That's definitely a believable one. But of course, when you come out of the stance, he's still stepping forward but doesn't reach. But here's the interesting thing. Look at King's arms when he does down 3, right? When King does down 3, do you see that? His hands go over the health bar just a little bit. But when you do down back 1+2 into down 3, his arms goes off the camera. So I genuinely do believe his reach is getting further, right? So this is a weird oddity. This is an extremely weird oddity that King could just like extend his reach. You can also do this with Giant Swing as well. His throws have more reach now. But yeah, it also extends the reach of his throws, so I would be terrified if King mains ever get this down. Very odd thing that King could just kind of extend his reach just because of the stance itself, and because he gets bigger, I think. It's an interesting one. It can be utilized, but it takes some time, I believe. Now, the next oddity comes from a game design perspective. This one makes no sense to me whatsoever. So when it comes to King's grounded throws, they deal more damage than any OTG. Does 28 there, right? Do an OTG with the elbow, it does 24, right? That's all you're getting from the elbow. You're getting 24 compared to the 28 follow-up off of the command grab. You get more damage with the command grab essentially, but it's a 50-50. The opponent can tech the throw, but they have to guess, right? That's the design principle behind it. So it creates this fun little game between you and the opponent where do I maximize damage for a guess, or do I go for a confirmed follow-up just to get the damage, right? So it's a very fun, unique interaction that King has with the rest of the roster that nobody else does, right? However, where it loses me is in situations of doing an OTG in a late combo. So for example, if you do a combo like this, if you do an OTG, you do 74 damage, guaranteed. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage, right? 74. But what happens if we do a grounded throw instead for the OTG? But yeah, if you go for the throw instead, you do 73 damage compared to the 74. Now, I'm well aware that this isn't a lot of damage when it comes to difference, right? So you get 74 from a confirmed OTG, but you'll get 73 from a 50-50 guess that the opponent can nullify a good chunk of the damage from. It seems like very odd design to me. It genuinely does. Like, I think what they want to do is relegate this throw to OTG setup. So if you ever land a down back 3, this is your new follow-up essentially. This is your new guaranteed follow-up. And it does more than any OTG from this situation, that's for sure, right? Like, that's guaranteed. And it does more than that, right? This does 19 compared to the big follow-up, the head button, that's 25, right? So I think they want to relegate this throw to essentially single-hitting things. But I don't see the point of the OTG point of the combo here that everybody has access to in the roster if King can just pick an option, right? I don't see the point if King can literally just pick the same OTG option as the rest of the roster and do more damage than his 50-50 guess, right? If you didn't know, back in Tekken 7, his 50-50 guesses used to deal a lot of damage, but again, it was a guess, right? You could get out of it, or you could just take the wall combo instead and he'll do less damage, right? But in this scenario, it's very odd. it's very, very odd because it makes you wonder, why is it like that in combos? I think from a gameplay design perspective, it is a bit weird. And if I was to make a change, I think what I would do is either make it so the OTG does less damage, or make it so the grounded throw does more. Because it doesn't do more, it does less. It does less in a combo, right? So that's how I would design it. That's how I would design it. Either get into making so it does more damage within combos, so it has less scaling. You don't need to touch the number it does. If you touch the number it does, it's a fucking... It would be a ridiculous throw by itself. And again, this is an oddity to me because it doesn't make sense. From a gameplay perspective, how would I give the opponent to reduce the damage if I'm getting less damage than an OTG hit? Right, it's a very odd design. It's a very odd design, but it's an interesting one. It'll probably be like that for a long period of the game, but we go with it. The next one is very odd. If the opponent decides to get up using a side Ukemi near the wall when you go for a down back free, it's kind of like your low mix option to avoid some tools and counter poke a wake up attack. A very odd thing will happen to you. Do you see? So if you decide to go for down back free near the wall after an OTG setup using forward 2-3, which is probably your most damaging OTG, that leads to a good amount of plus frames compared to your other OTGs, the opponent will just teleport behind you on down back free, and you're minus 14 on this move, by the way. You're minus 14 with your back to the wall. That's a big punish that's coming, right? You're going to eat a full string for like 80%. So this next oddity is very interesting. It actually comes from a piece of tech that's kind of useful if your opponent gets up normally against certain throws. Off of any throw that leads to this kind of OK, where the opponent is to their side to king, like this here. Do you see that? The way king is to the side. If you follow their feet and do sidestep 3+4, so for example, if I do sidestep left into 3+4, this is guaranteed. That's guaranteed. Did you see how much damage King got from that? Look at that damage. Look at that damage. That is 60% off of one throw. And the thing is, Jin is set to block all. He is set to block, so he's going to block as soon as he gets up. He's going to get up normally, and because of this, he gets hit for it. Yeah, off of any form of get up sidestep, I will catch it. Which is very interesting, because if you know your opponent's going to get up like that every time, you've seen it happen, you've been hitting with guaranteed forward freeze, that might be the play. Guarantee some more damage, delete a massive 60%, and you'll probably win the round off of these types of throws now. Next one is really weird. So it turns out King has a pseudo infinite. Yes, a pseudo infinite. He can whip it 3 times, right? But it's hyper specific, right? It's super hyper specific. You'll never get it in a match, but it's such an interesting thing. This move here on a backturn opponent will actually cause them to kind of vortex in if you get good sidestep on them. About this angle. Do you see that? Jin pulls himself in. And the thing is, the bot is set to block. They're set to block, so this is essentially guaranteed. And the thing about it is that after 3 loops, the game realizes, oh, he's getting infinited. So eventually, it'll push them out on the 4th one. But if you get really good angle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can kind of keep going if you get the perfect angle. It's messed up. The only counterplay, and this is the most messed up part, is to crouch. Why? Because you'll start doing the crouch getaway, right? But of course, what if the king messes up their angle? Well, it's a mid. This thing where it's like, oh, if the king's wrong, well, you just got hit for crouching. But if the king's right, then, you know, you could get out and nullify some of the damage. But here's the intriguing part. If the opponent doesn't crouch, which they should, by the way, after 3 loops, 1, 2, 3, you go into Afro mix. and you'll deal a lot of damage, right? It's not guaranteed. If the opponent crouches again, they're out, right? But they'll back out so far away, it doesn't matter, right? After 3Ds, boom. Very intriguing thing, because it's the way he pulls the opponent into them. It's like they're stuck in this weird loop of hold the mids, right? And it doesn't do this with any other mid that King does, right? You do down forward 2. You see that? The opponent doesn't get sucked in, they get pushed away, right? Same with down forward, same with back 1, same with back 2. But this move pulls them in. Thing that you can go for as well is that you can go for a follow-up that's guaranteed, for example forward 2-1. So if you get the step and you want to go to heat, you go bump, 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 and just like you've got heat, you can make the opponent guess and all that good stuff. Super hyper specific infinite, I believe there's some counterplays that you can do with jab, but overall it doesn't leave any player in a better situation going for a jab. Overall, it's a very odd thing. It's a very, very odd thing. King is filled with them. He's filled with oddities. It's the same with bears as well. I feel as if King was one of the later designed members of the roster for him to be as insane as he is. I feel as if like Jen and Kazuya, they had like the ground rules of what the game was supposed to be. And then like for the later members of the roster, it seems like a lot of lack of communication because there's some design aspects about some of the characters that just aren't that consistent. Right? They aren't that consistent. Like, to end off the video, last one isn't really an oddity, but just to show off the fun wee details of King, I think you'll greatly appreciate it. Essentially, when King does his flex moves, down back 1+2, he gets super duper swole, but here's the thing, he also gets swole on a lot of his moves. For example, in 4-4 neutral 2, when he does his clothesline, he gets swole. When he does his clothesline, he gets swole. The same goes for his heat engager. He starts getting swole when he does the pump up power bomb, essentially. Same also goes for his CD 1+2. So it feels like it's actually heavily ingrained into his move list that he will get swole just doing normal moves, right? Which is also a fun wee detail. You don't really notice these things, but it's definitely a cool thing. Here's one last audio I'll leave you with. Now that I've got my Unreal Unlocker here, because I want to show this for a little bit of perspective. Have you ever noticed that King's muscle buster just never looks right, like, at all? Like, take a look here. Why does it look like that? Look at Jin's clipping through his model. It looks odd, and here's the thing, Jin is usually the placeholder character for a lot of these animations, so why does it look weird? Well, it's because they designed it to be looked at from behind, specifically about like this angle, right? Because it looks fine-ish from these angles, right? Where you don't really notice the hair clipping too much because King would actually normally have a cape on, right? You wouldn't notice the clipping here. So this is actually fine from the camera angle that they show, but sometimes what happens is from the player 1 angle or the player 2 angle, they'll get this instead. And it don't look right. It don't look right. Like, this part is okay, but then the hand area, the head area, it just looks wrong. It's fine here. Fine is here. Imagine if King had this cape, you don't see that clipping, right? But if you look here, it looks so goofy. Like, why has he got Jin's hair in his tits? Anyway, just a final point I wanted to add on while I was getting some of my animations. But yeah, peace out, fellas.